I've always defined flow state as the feeling that you get when you're at the free throw line of a basketball court and you're about to shoot. When you aim up to shoot, what are you thinking? Nothing. There's no thoughts. There's just a clear goal and a clear way to get there. If you overthink, you miss. It's a state of complete focus on the task at hand. That's flow. Alright, so hold on. This task makes pretty much everyone focus, right? Throwing a basketball into the hoop. But something like studying doesn't really appeal to everyone. Some, nerds will find it fun and everything, but most people don't. So can we apply the principles from this to studying to make it a flow state as well? Well, yes. And it's not just studying. Here's what makes something a flow experience and how to replicate that in anything you want. Honestly, bro, school isn't built for flow. But firstly, what even is flow? What makes something a flow experience? Well, there's 3 things I've written down. In basketball, you have a clear goal, put ball into hoop. There's immediate feedback because when you shoot the ball, you can see whether it goes in or whether it doesn't. And if it goes in, you are positively reinforced, like, you get some dopamine in your head and you're like, okay, I'm going to do that again. If it doesn't go in, you can see, okay, it went too much to the right. So I'm going to move left and shoot again. Let's see if that works. And lastly, there's a similar skill to challenge level. If your skill is really high, you can up the challenge by moving back. You can go really far, Steph Curry range, or you can go right next to the hoop and practice layups. No matter what your skill level is, you can adjust it by taking a couple steps. But in school, it's not really the same. There's no real clear goal on the day-to-day basis. The clear overarching goal is get good grades, but that's like saying the overarching goal of basketball is to win an NBA championship. That's not really how it works. You need something in front of you right now, like the hoop, which in school we don't have that on a day-to-day basis. Like on the daily, the goal for most students is just fucking survive. And then there's no immediate feedback because when you do a test, it takes time for it to come back. It truly needs to be immediate, like right now, the same way you can see the basketball, whether it goes in or not. And then finally, the challenge in school is set for everyone. Everyone gets the same question. Everyone has to sit like 40 students in one class and the teacher teaches in one way. But the 40 students learn in 40 different ways. So the challenge is like set. Some students are really good and they get bored because it's too easy. Some students are not good enough. They get stressed because they don't know how to do the questions. So yeah, that's the 3 things that make something a flow experience. And now we're going to talk about actually getting into a flow state, like when you're at home studying or when you're at school. Step 1 will be breaking into flow. The first 10 to 20 minutes is what we call breaking into flow. And a lot of the time I start the task and I feel some apprehension. I'm not sure if I'm going to do well. And so I check my phone. I click on YouTube and I watch something else. So the mindset that we need to have, and this is probably the most important part of this whole video, is instead of waiting for perfect conditions to start, understand that starting and pretending like you're already in the flow state is the perfect condition. So even though it's uncomfortable, you need to pretend like you're in flow for about 10 to 20 minutes. You just need to make it through this time. This is the hardest part of the whole experience. It's breaking into it. Most people can't do this because it takes 10 minutes, right? 7 minutes and 29 seconds in, they check their phone. And you might think, oh, 7 minutes and 29, I check my phone. I'll continue. I need to finish only 2 more or 3 more minutes to get to 10 minutes, right? No. Every time you check your phone, every time you get distracted, you'll get reset back to 0. Even though checking your phone or looking at some notification only takes 10 to 20 seconds, it zaps all your focus and you get reset back to 0. You have to restart the whole 10 or 20 minutes again. This is what most students do. Like, they're already 1 minute away from breaking into flow and it just stopped. Like, you were so close. If you just didn't get distracted for another minute, another 2 minutes or something, you would have been in flow already. They're trying to get into flow. They're a couple minutes away from it and then they reset. And then they do it again and then they reset. They get distracted. Like, getting into flow is a lot like falling asleep. When you fall asleep, right? When you try to sleep, you just pretend like you're already asleep. You sit there in the same conditions as if you were asleep. If you keep tossing and turning in the bed and wondering, oh, why am I not asleep? I'm so frustrated, I'm not asleep. Guess what? You're never gonna fucking fall asleep. Being angry that you're not asleep is what keeps you awake. And so constantly getting distracted and wondering why you're not in flow is why you're not in flow. If you're trying to get into flow and you keep switching tabs and you're thinking about other things, that's the equivalent of tossing and turning in bed. And you'll never get into it. That's why most people keep resetting their progress. And it's fucking hard, bro. Like, sometimes I have this meta conversation in my own head where I'm trying to get into flow and I think, oh yeah, I'm gonna get into flow. And that breaks my flow because I was about to get into it, but I thought about flow. I thought about something else other than the work and it breaks it. There's some things that you can do, like for example, before starting, I close my eyes for like 10 seconds, breathe super deeply. If you know me, I like to do breath work. So there's a specific breathing exercise I do, but that's not important, right? Just breathe deeply for like 10 seconds, open your eyes. And what that does is like it concentrates all your focus towards the one thing that you see when you open your eyes. And if you have your work in front of you, you open your eyes, look at your work, you get started. It's almost like a reset. And also, the more you get into flow, the better you get at getting into flow, which is a tongue twister. But basically, if right now you're taking about, let's say you're new to flow, right? It takes you 20 minutes, 30 minutes to get into flow. Well, next month, it's probably going to be 25, then 20, then 15. And then over a year, let's say you get down to like 5 minutes. Think about it. In a year from now, if you keep doing this, you'll be able to get into flow into 5 minutes. And the ultimate point we want to strive for is to be able to instantly get into flow whenever we want. It's going to take time, but that's what mastery looks like. So just a summary of this part. Pretend like you're already in flow for 10 to 20 minutes and you'll be there. This is fake it till you make it. Step 2, being in flow. Once you're in flow, you won't realize it. Just like falling asleep, you don't realize you're asleep, you just fall into it. And when this happens, just stay in flow for as long as possible and use your concentration well. This comes from not being distracted, which comes from setting up your environment for success. This is why you won't study in a construction site or play piano in the middle of a war zone. It's not a conducive environment. And so for me, I can't study anywhere and I can't focus anywhere really except my room. Even if it's a quiet library, I just can't focus, right? Like, I think I'm just very easily distracted. I'm very sensitive to distractions. So for you, if you're like that, tell your parents, go room to room and say, I'm gonna be studying for a while, I'm gonna be doing this for a while, 2 hours. So okay, keep it down. If your parents allow locked doors, which in an Asian household they probably don't, but if they do, lock the door, close the blinds, focus. Be like the guy who's mewing in the lock-in meme, gotta lock in. And if your home environment is shit, then all I can really say is find somewhere that's not shit. So go to the library, stay back after school if that's allowed, go to a friend's house, find somewhere that's convenient but also conducive for you. And this is important. Throw your phone in the other room. We are really not that smart. We're pretty much the equivalent of toddlers, where when you see a toddler and you cover your face, they actually think you've disappeared. We need to do that with our phone. We just need to cover our eyes and not see it. We need to use the simple principle of out of sight, out of mind. If you just move it to somewhere you can't see, the likelihood you get distracted just drops significantly, because we're really not that smart. If we don't see it, we just don't think about it anymore. I read somewhere that by having emails and phone notifications, your IQ gets decreased by 10 points. If you want to make your work way harder to do, and also when you're done doing your work, it's going to be way less quality, your phone is the best instrument for that. Keep your phone there if you want that. Plus, you know what's crazier? Weed decreases your IQ by 4 points. Meaning your phone is twice as destructive for your focus than being high on marijuana. Obviously, don't smoke either, but you know what I mean, right? Yeah. So those are how you cut the distractions and stay in flow for as long as possible. Which leads us on to step 3, which is rest and recovery. After a couple hours of flow, we want to rest and recover, because this is quite mentally draining work. And so for me, I put my flow state task in the morning, and in the middle of the day, I do physical activity that doesn't really need to use my brain. And then at night, I can do my flow state tasks again. Mentally straining work, physically straining work, then mentally straining work. And I also put the hardest task, which is recording videos, in the morning, because this is when you have the most flow proneness, which basically means how prone, how easily you can get into flow. When you wake up, that's the easiest time you can get into flow, so I do it when I wake up. If you're gonna have multiple flow sessions in your day, then try to schedule it so that they're a bit further away so you have time to recover. If you watch my videos, you know that I either record here in the morning with the sun's coming back right now as well. Give it a second. There we go. And and at night at my desk with the nice candlelight and everything. I rarely do work at any other time other than in the morning and at night. Now this is for the more advanced people. After doing flow state, what most people do is relax, they go on TikTok, they have fun. The thing is, that does reduce your focus over the long term. If you take one guy that watches TikTok for 1 hour a day versus a guy that doesn't do that, we know whose focus will be better after a year, after 2 years. If they live the same exact life, they do everything else the same, it's just one guy uses TikTok and the other one doesn't, we know who's gonna do better in his focus and in his flow. A focused mind is a happy mind. I don't see a point in recovering by watching TikTok if it's gonna, 1, fuck up our flow state in the future because it messes up our attention span, and 2, we're not even really that happy doing it. We just look like we're in a coma whilst using social media anyway. So the higher level that we should strive for is, during the recovery period, we still do flow state tasks. Most normal people will do delayed gratification during their work, then afterwards they indulge in instant gratification and fuck up their progress. If you want to be more ambitious and strive for a higher level, then after work you can still do fun things, but make sure they are delayed gratification and not instant gratification. So for example, in between my flow state task of recording videos, I still watch educational videos, I still play sports, I still do other things that put me into a flow state. So whether it's work or not work, it's flow. And so this leads us to the ideal day, which is very hard to achieve, is that everything in your day is a flow state. Your whole day becomes a flow state, and it'll definitely take months or maybe even years to get to the point where your whole day is a flow state, and I'm definitely not there yet, but it seems to me like that is the optimal day we should strive for. And it's kind of funny that those days that I spent doing the easy tasks, doing fun tasks, lazing around, watching social media and everything, right? Those are the days that I forget. Those are the days I didn't even have that much fun. Whilst the days that I was productive, the days that I woke up and I did the hardest task first, I continued with more flow state tasks I continued with flow state tasks throughout the day. Those are the days I remember, and the days where I actually had more fun. So when I fill my day with like 100% productive stuff, 100% focused things, no bullshit, no video games, I have more fun anyways, so I may as well strive for this 100% flow state day. Because if you're in flow, regardless of what it is, it could be riding a 30-foot wave, it could be skydiving, it could be something as simple as solving Rubik's Cube or just watching a YouTube video that you're very focused on. Once you're in flow, that's the optimal human experience. It's a bit more like philosophical. I wrote an old video that was never uploaded about how most people chase happiness, right? So when you chase happiness, most people don't get happiness. And so instead of chasing happiness, if we just chase flow states, if you just chase excitement and the moment of complete focus, you actually get more happiness at the end of the day. And I think that's why we say journey before the destination and all that kind of stuff, because when you're on the journey, you have the flow state every day because you have the daily task, you train, you practice, right? But then once you're at the destination, you don't have that anymore. And so we don't even find fulfillment in the destination, because the real thing we were looking for, the thing that actually brought us happiness, was the day-to-day task. It was the flow state. So yeah, this last part is more philosophical for the people that are more advanced, but if you just care about flow state, that's how you do it. Step 1, break into flow. Step 2, minimize distractions whilst they're in flow so you can stay there for as long as possible. Step 3, recovery and schedule it properly. So nowadays, I don't even chase happiness, I just chase focus. And what I realized is that I achieve more because focus is how we get shit done. And I'm also happier at the end of the day. Take action. Pew! The sun kept going away and coming back throughout this video, bro. It's so annoying. Just fucking broke my flow state, bro. Yo. Alright, so the short guide to flow that you just watched is actually a small part of a full 7-hour productivity course that I have in my private community. Inside that 7-hour full course, there's actually a 40-minute full guide to flow. There's other things that I have in there, like a full 6-hour course about YouTube. There's coaching calls. I post every single day in there. It's kind of like my hub. All the courses have been getting really, really good reviews. I put some reviews up here on the side. I hope my editor is doing that. If not, I'm just like waving to nothing. But yeah, if you want to join, you can click the first link in the description to check it out. If not, that's completely fine, because all the YouTube videos will still be here on YouTube for free for your value. Give me a kiss. Mwah. Flex on him.